Hey, welcome back, I'm Lai. On Saturday, Mars lander InSight went up the sky from Vandenberg Air Force Base in Southern California. It's a very exciting project. If it lands on Mars, it'll be our 8th successful landing. Our previous successes include Viking 1 and 2, Pathfinder, Spirit, Opportunity, Phoenix, and Curiosity. They have all done their job to help us understand the red planet. InSight is going to do more. Let me explain. Ever since the 1970s, humans have sent many orbiters and landers to Mars, and we have learned quite a lot of our nearest neighbor. For example, the famous Curiosity rover had investigated the radiation level on Martian surface to prepare us for future manned missions. It has also found potential habitat locations with water sources nearby. The point is, Mars is no longer a strange mystery it was 40 years ago. We have grown to understand it more and more, so the question becomes clear. What can InSight offer us that its predecessors can't? First of all, unlike its predecessors, InSight is comprised of 3 components. Other than the main payload, which is a Mars lander, there are 2 CubeSats piggybacked on InSight. They will be deployed earlier on the journey and follow InSight all the way till it lands on Mars. While InSight is performing its final entry, descent, and landing maneuvers, these 2 CubeSats will act as communication and relay satellites to monitor InSight. This is the first interplanetary trip for CubeSats. At the time we speak, these CubeSats are already separated from InSight and are trailing behind. Additionally, InSight also has a heat shield called Aeroshell that weighs over half the mass of InSight itself. But that is the price you pay when you need to slow an object down from 36,000 km per hour to 0 km per hour in a matter of minutes. Now let's move on to the lander itself. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this bouncy house type of landing techniques before. It looks funny, but it's damn effective. This technique was used for Pathfinder, Opportunity, and Spirit. It's not going to be used for InSight this time. Instead, InSight will be using a combination of aeroshell, parachute, and retrorocket to land on Mars, similar to the techniques used for Phoenix lander in 2008. The location Elysium is chosen to be the landing site because of its flat nature. We don't want to take unnecessary risks. So you can think of Elysium as a huge 100 square kilometers parking lot, a superb location for landing InSight. The entire entry, descent, and landing phase will take around 20 minutes, and once InSight lands on Mars, it will start deploying instruments. Here's an augmented reality application created by the New York Times and NASA documenting the entire process. I shot this experience in my office with my phone, so apologies for the shaky camera, but it's truly amazing what AR can do in the field of education. Anyways, once InSight lands on Mars, it'll start deploying a seismometer and a heat probe. The whole process will take around 2 months to complete, unlike what's shown on the screen, which takes only seconds. Now is a good time for me to explain the objectives of InSight. The name InSight stands for Interior Exploration using Seismic Investigation, Geodesy, and Heat Transport. Basically, what that means is that we have learned quite a lot about Mars' surface and its atmospheric composition. It's time to understand more about its inside. The seismometer will measure the movements of Martian ground caused by Marsquakes, volcanic activities, and its molten core. The heat probe will dig 3 to 5 meters into the ground to help reveal the planet's thermal history. On top of that, there are also 2 sensors that provide precise measurements of planetary rotation to better understand the interior of Mars. With the data from Vikings and Pathfinder, we will be able to understand the size and density of the Martian core. Other than that, InSight is also equipped with instruments that measures temperature and wind on Mars, a laser retroreflector for discoverability, an instrument deployment arm that helps place the seismometer on the ground, and a camera to help operate those actions. The lander weighs 360 kilograms and has a dimension of 6.1 × 2 × 1.4 meters. The robotic arm on InSight is 2.4 meters in length. One interesting fact about InSight is that its entire design followed that of Phoenix lander. It also reused parts from previous cancelled missions. This is to save money and at the same time ensure high possibility of success for the mission. Lastly, InSight was launched with the United Launch Alliance's Atlas V rocket on the 5th May 2018. It will be landing on Mars in the same year on the 26th November. Its trip to Mars is going to take in total 6.5 months. A rough timeline of InSight's tasks will look something like this. It's designed to last 1 Martian year, which is about 2 Earth years. This is necessary because one of InSight's objectives is to understand how planet wobbles throughout the year. So if nothing goes wrong, we will have another man-made machine operating on Mars by the end of the year. Overall, InSight represents humanity's latest effort to understand Mars and our solar system. Without missions like InSight, we will never know what we're dealing with on Mars. Make no mistake, we'll get to Mars. It might take us a few years, it might be several decades, but we'll get there. Most importantly, with missions like InSight, Curiosity, Spirit, and Opportunity, we'll get there safely. Hey, thank you all so much for watching. Project InSight has just started. We still have 6 months until InSight lands on Mars. So if there's any update about InSight in the future, I'll keep you guys in the loop. Thumbs if you like this video, subs if you love this channel. As always, I'm Lai. I'll catch you guys in the next one.